this in here, and why, and what is it? Or do you feel like this is a really done piece and it looks, what's missing? What kind of doesn't finish it off? How about background? There's no background here. It's two figures in the middle of a paper. And my printing class right now, they have a subject and then they don't have anything in the background. And to balance some of the things out, if you put a frame around it, helps a little bit. But what's happening back here? What's over here? What's in front here? What's over on this side? We don't know. It's just about the subject that they're depicting here. Here's another example of their perspective and how they're creating their perspective. First of all, what do you think of their perspective?
Off.
What?
It's off.
It is very off. It looks awkward. Look at this line to this line. These two lines should be parallel, should have the same angle that's happening here. And then that should be the same angle that's happening down here. And you can see this one is way off compared to that one. And these two should be absolutely horizontal in the front. But what is kind of interesting about this piece is that they added this, this bed. That's a bed, by the way. They added this bed, which helped create space. When you looked at the other one and you looked at this one, there's a lot more atmosphere happening here. There's a lot more space that is happening here. There's overlapping that's going on here. Look at the bench. It's actually a pretty good job on the bench, how these bend this way and these curve this way. So they actually did a pretty nice job at showing the perspective of that. The drapery, what do you think of the drapery? Usually that's a huge judgment when you're looking at somebody's abilities in the art. What do you think of the drapery, and how would you describe that?
It shows like the folds, it seems like, on the left-hand side.
It's pulled up here,
Yeah.
and it's pulled up here. You can see that it's pulled up, and you can see the drapes going down. It doesn't look natural. No, it's very linear, isn't it? There's an attempt at shading in between. We know that this one is deeper, this one is out further. So it's like the beginning of the skill of drapery. What happens is that it should have more value happening in those. This is too solid of a value. This is too solid of a value to actually get that effect of that full drapery happening. But there is part of that in there. On the side, it's basically talking about if the words that you utter are good, all men for 1,000 leagues will make you respond to you. But if you depart from this principle, even your bedful will distract you. So that is the saying on the left-hand side. And the bedful, they actually put a bed in here representing that saying, which is kind of interesting. There is one other thing that's really difficult to see, and I apologize for that. In the back, there's a window, and I'm not even sure if I can find the window. But in the window, there's a landscape in that window. Can anybody see it? There's supposed to be an actual landscape that you're seeing. Again, that's a pretty interesting concept to apply into this picture compared to what we saw prior to this. But the picture that we saw prior to this, the main purpose of that painting was the lessons to the women that they needed to learn. This isn't necessarily just a lesson. Here's another landscape. This is based on CPI, which we saw earlier. This is based on a poem, and it's basically about this nymph who is very beautiful that lures these people in. And it's a very long scroll, so I only have a section of it. The next one is another part of it, and it continues on. So it's a hand scroll, and it's inked with light colors on silk. Again, most of these things were done on silk and silk painting. Silk painting is very difficult to do because it bleeds a little bit also. But what about landscape? Or what about the background? What about, it feels empty, doesn't it? This is supposed to be a scene of the river, and it feels like we're missing so much. And this is the nymph right here, and she's a tempest. and she tempts people. And it's a story that most people knew. There's different versions of this story, but there's another ship that comes in, and this is part of it too. And you can see the people on there. The perspective again, a little off. It seems better than what we've seen in some of the other ones, but it's still a little off. But look at the way they do their hills. I have to be very, very careful about that because there is actually some hills in parts of China that do look very similar to this. But I would say that this is a simplified form. And also the trees, I would say those are very simplified compared to what we see as far as trees. I would almost call those lollipop trees. It just has the tops on it. And the person that you're seeing sitting there is a poet sitting on the bank, wondering if he missed his chance of romance with a beautiful nymph as she is sailing away. So here is the poet. This is actually a very nice job on the perspective. These are actually even a little bit off in the back line, but not too bad. Again, we have our, I would call them stylized trees, the willows, type of tree, and then the mountain in the back. I think that's my last one. Those are your lessons. So, you guys did calligraphy yesterday. You worked on the brush strokes. How many found it very difficult to do? What surprised you most about doing the calligraphy?
Everyone raised their hand.
Something you picked was what you did.
Well, it's not just like brush strokes, like there was order you had to do up, down, you had to do left, right, you had to do like one side or the other, like couldn't just right here.
Yeah, like it doesn't look that hard just looking at it, but yeah, you're right, it's simple. Then when you actually do it, it's like a lot of patience and everything like that. It's a lot of work.
Now, if you can take that idea of calligraphy and now apply it to painting. Calligraphy has rules, it has orders, right? Painting in the 6th dynasty has rules and orders also. We went through the 6 canons. But not only that, that veneration of the past is a big one. With calligraphy, you need to practice, practice, practice. You need to get those strokes just right, and you need to do them in the right order. The painting is the same thing. You need to understand your subject. You need to understand how your brush is going to work, and then how to place those things onto your silk. And you're working with silk. I think the biggest thing for the art during this time period is to remember it's not like any of the other art that we looked at, as far as you can paint over the top of it, you can add to it, you can do that. You lay it down and it's done and over with, and move on to the next part of your painting. So you need to have a plan before you even start. You need to know where you're going to start on your silk and where you're going to end. What are you going to lay down first and what's going to go over the top of it. Where the brush strokes are going to go in. And if you thought doing calligraphy on paper was difficult, doing it on silk is even more difficult.
I know you're calling it paint, but is it more inky?
It is ink.
Okay.
It's an ink. It's an ink wash. And they are known for their ink washes. They're actually the ones that created ink wash. And to get the different tones that they had in there, I gave you straight Indian ink. It's called Indian ink. I gave you straight ink that you used. What they would do is they would take and split that up and add water to it to create the different shades. Like when we looked at that drapery, the different shades would be the different colors in there. It's not like you press harder and you get it darker. You have to go into a different shade of that ink into your tray and add that color in there. So again, plan. And then what if you didn't finish it the first day and you had to create those shades over again in your dish? Or you used it all up because you didn't create enough of it. So there's a lot of, I guess, the planning and knowing your subject are probably the 2 most important things. Any questions? Got like 2 minutes, 3 minutes?
I don't know if you'll know the answer, but so how does silk hold up over time?
Versus paper? Silk holds up better than paper does, because there's more fiber in it than paper, and it's also thicker, so it's going to last a lot longer. Not a lot longer, but it will. I suppose it depends if the bugs get in. When we get to Japan, one of the amazing things about Japan, and a lot of reason why more things have been preserved there, is a certain type of wood that they had that they built storage units with. And that wood was bug resistant. And the other thing is that they put their buildings up and they had ventilation in them so that it would constantly have a flow through it. And then during the humid times, it would seal up so it wouldn't allow the humidity inside. So it all depends on where you're at too.